In the sequence of stories of superhit films shown on Khabar Tak, the new link of story that I have brought before you today is the story of film Refugee. This film was brought on silver screen in 2000 and this was one of the most five grossing film of that year. This film was the debut film of star kid Abhishek Bachchan and Kareena Kapoor and was a grand success. This film was awarded with three Filmfare Award of that year, including the Best Music Director, the Best Lyric, and the Best Incoming Actress. This film was directed by J.P. Datta and lead role in this film were played by Abhishek Bachchan and Kareena Kapoor. Whereas Ashish Vidyarthi played the role of villain and Anupam Kher, Reena Rai and Sunil Shetty played character role in this film. This film included many beautiful and emotional dance song and melodious song as well. The music director of this film was Anu Malik, and the voiceover in the song of this film were given by Anuradha Podwal, Alka Yagnik, Udit Kumar, and Sonu Nigam. The first few lines of some of the prominent songs of this film I am humming for your amusement. ऐसा लगता है कि जो ना हुआ होने को है ऐसा लगता है कि दिल मेरा खोने को है वरना दिल क्यों धड़कता सांसें क्यों रुकती नींदें क्यों टूटती ऐसा लगता है पंछी नदियाँ पवन के झोंके कोई सरहद न इन्हें रोके सरहद इंसानों के लिए है सोचो हमने क्या पाया इंसान होके जिसे तू न मिला उसे कुछ न मिला जिसे तू न मिला उसे कुछ न मिला जिसे तू न मिला उसे कुछ न मिला दुनिया में दुनियादारों को झूठी दौलत के यारों को दौलत भी मिली ताकत भी मिला इज्जत भी मिली शोहरत भी मिला जो चीज इन्होंने पाई है पानी पे लिखी सियाई है मुझे इन झूठे शानों शौकत से मुझे लेना क्या मेरा मतलब क्या मेरे मन में गूंजे यही सदा जिसे तू न मिला उसे कुछ न मिला जिसे तू न मिला उसे कुछ न मिला जिसे तू न मिला उसे कुछ न मिला मेरे हम सफर मेरे हम सफर मेरे हम सफर मेरे हम सफर हमें चलना है संग में उम्र भर मेरे पास आ मेरे पास आ मेरे हम सफर मेरे हम सफर Now listen the entire story of film Refugee in detail. The story of the film Refugee begins with the scene of Manzoor Ahmad, a Muslim family headed by Muhammad Manzoor, played by Kulbhushan Kharbanda, living in Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, he is harassed by the local people, mistaking him for being pro-Pakistan. To escape this, he and his entire family decide to settle in Pakistan. To reach Pakistan, he must first illegally enter India and then Pakistan via the Great Run of Kutch, that is the White Desert.
Upon entering India, he meets Makkar, played by Ashish Vidyarthi, a member of the network that facilitates illegal entry into Pakistan. He demands a large sum of money for the family's passage to Pakistan, but when the family lacks the money, he negotiates with them to enter Pakistan with whatever money they have. Magar takes the family to Jan Muhammad, played by Anupam Khair, the head of a village on the India-Pakistan border. John Muhammad's house is home to an orphanage young man whose name is unknown and everyone calls him Refugee, played by Abhishek Bachchan. John Muhammad has raised him like his own son. He illegally transports people and goods from India to Pakistan via the Great Run of Kutch. John Muhammad also entrusts the refugees with transporting Muhammad Manzoor's family brought by Makkah to Pakistan via Kutch. Before leaving, when Muhammad Manzoor asks refugee for his name and address, he becomes angry and says, "There is no need to introduce yourself to me. You are all just goods which I will deliver to Pakistan and then return." The refugee is heading towards Pakistan with this family through the great run of Kutch. Tired of the heat and sand of Kutch, the family asks refugee to rest for a while and then rest there. Refugee sits a little further away from them, eats some roti and drinks water. Seeing him drinking water, Mohammad Manzoor's daughter Nazneen Naz, played by Kareena Kapoor, becomes thirsty. She then tells her father to go in search of drinking water with her cousin Salma, but finds no source of drinking water anywhere. She then asks refugee for water. Refugee reluctantly gives her his water jug. Nazneen takes the water jug from refugee, moves away and begins to clean her face. Refugee then comes to takes the water jug from Nazneen's hand, saying, "People here don't get drinking water and you are wasting it to clean your face." Meanwhile, he notices Nazneen's beautiful face and falls in love with her. Until now, he had considered the people whom he was transporting from India to Pakistan and back to India merely as merchandise. However, after falling in love with Nazneen's beautiful face, he began to develop rapport with this family. Even when Nazneen's grandmother suddenly becomes unable to walk on the way, fearing she and entire family might be shot by Pakistan Rangers, carries her on his back and begins moving rapidly towards Pakistan. Despite all obstacles, refugee brings this family to Pakistan and delivers them to Chand Muhammad, John Muhammad's brother. Upon reaching Chand Muhammad's home, a Pakistan Ranger officer Ashraf, along with his soldiers suspicious of the family, enters the house and asks everyone for their identity. The head of the family, Muhammad Manzoor, tells Ashraf that he has come for his daughter's wedding and will leave in a few days. Meanwhile, Tausif, a junior officer under Ashraf's command, played by Mukesh Tiwari, begins teasing Nazneen's cousin Salma. Seeing this, Ashraf scolds him for this and takes him away. Tausif keeps hegemony with Ashraf for this event and remains eager to take revenge from Ashraf after this incident. After Ashraf and his soldiers leave, refugee tells the family that they should now prepare for the burial of Nazneen's grandmother as she had died on the way. Nazneen looks at refugee's face. She then expresses compassion for refugee, asking why he didn't tell her about this on the way and endured the great hardship of carrying the corpse along the way. The refugee told Nazneen that if he had not done so and had revealed the incidents on the way, the family would have cried and began the burial process. Then Pakistan Rangers would have learned of their illegal entry and, taking advantage of the opportunity, would have opened fire on them, killing them all. Hearing this, Nazneen also began to fall in love with refugee. BSF officer Raghuveer Singh, played by Jackie Shroff, arrives in John Muhammad's village with his soldiers on a routine inspection. John Muhammad tells him that he is the village head and that no one is living there illegally. Refugee's arrival raises some suspicions, but John Muhammad immediately allies his doubts by introducing Refugee as his eldest son. Raghuveer Singh then returns with his soldiers. Because Refugee is in love with Nazneen, he frequently visits Pakistan to meet with her family. Taking the opportunity, Nazneen and Refugee expresses their love in some way. Nazneen asks Refugee to give her money. When Refugee asks her what she intends to do with this money, she replies, "With that money, I will build a house where we will live together." Pakistan Ranger Officer Ashraf also visits Chand Mohammad's village as part of routine inspection. Seeing Nazneen's family, he asks how long they will stay there. Muhammad Manzoor insists he will stay until his daughter's wedding. Tausif taunts Ashraf, saying that because of his daughter Nazneen, he is not acting lawfully with the family and is being lenient. Ashraf then leaves and proceeds to search elsewhere. Seeing Refugee there, he becomes suspicious, but Chand Muhammad assures him by calling him his nephew. As soon as Ashraf leaves, Tausif treats Muhammad Manzoor harshly. Manzoor tells him that the people of Bangladesh hate his family because they believe he is pro Pakistan, and that even here they are not allowing him to live in peace. After this, Tausif threatens them and goes back to his camp with Ashraf, promising to leave the place immediately. Due to his growing love for Nazneen, Refugee now makes more trips to Pakistan via the Great Run of Kutch in exchange for refugees and goods from there to India. During this time, he and Nazneen share long, loving conversation. One day, as Refugee leaves, Ashraf approaches Nazneen. Nazneen is painting colorful patterns on a part of her house. Ashraf approaches her and asks her about the house. Nazneen says that she will live peacefully with her husband in this house. Ashraf questions her about her still being a virgin, to which she replies yes. Ashraf then asks her about her choice of husband. She tells Ashraf that she will marry a suitable groom like him. Ashraf asks her to discuss this with her parents. She then sends him to speak to them. Ashraf accepts this as Nazneen's consent and discusses the matter with her parents. One day, while Refugee spends a long time talking to Nazneen lovingly and is then traveling to India via the Great Run of Kutch, the Pakistan Rangers spot him and chases him. Refugee digs a hole in Great Run of Kutch and hides in it. The Pakistan Rangers are deceived by bushes placed over the pit. However, as the refugee then are deceived by bushes and placed over the pit. However, as the refugee emerges from the pit and begins walking towards India, a Pakistan Ranger soldier spots him and fires from a distance. The Pakistan Ranger's bullet hit his leg, but he continues his rapid march towards India. Arriving there, he is informing John Muhammad about the incident when BSF officer Raghuveer Singh, accompanied by his soldiers, approaches John Muhammad and questions him about his eldest son, the refugee. John Muhammad explains that he slept there last night and that he had disappeared into morning. BSF officer Raghuveer Singh tells him, "You make up a good story, but you forget to wipe away the blood stains." He then sets off in search of the refugee, accompanied by John Muhammad. On the way, a girl with a bandaged leg bleeding from the wound arrives and says she does not know who broke a glass bottle on the road, injuring her leg and causing it to bleed. Hearing this, BSF officer Raghuveer Singh's suspicions are dispelled and he abandons the search for the refugee and returns. Meanwhile, refugee goes to religious places and tells priest about the incident. The priest advises him to stay there for a few days to recuperate. Nazneen is deeply saddened by the refugee's absence from his visits. She repeatedly dreams of refugee being shot. One day, Nazneen visits a shrine dedicated to a saint. The saint's attendants informs her that refugee has indeed been shot, but then refugee recovers and comes to meet Nazneen. Both of them meet with great love, and this love affair between them starts once again. Meanwhile, Ashraf confesses his love for Nazanin to his parents and promises to marry her soon. When he visits Nazanin at her home, he finds her in love with Refugee. He urges her to leave Refugee and go with him as he will soon be her husband. Nazanin tells him that she loves Refugee and will become his wife. She then dispels Ashraf's misconceptions, claiming he misinterpreted her words. This angers Ashraf, who orders his soldiers to arrest Refugee, take him to prison, and torture him. Nazanin agrees to go with him, promising that Ashraf will be lenient with him and let him go to his country. At Ashraf's insistence, his soldiers take Refugee away, scold him, and tell him to flee to India. Just then, Tosif arrives and brutally beats him. He even breaks his leg. Meanwhile, Ashraf returns to Nazanin's parents. With Nazanin, he is consumed by a deep sense of revenge. Nazanin's mother and father further fill his vengeance by asking her if she loved Refugee. Why did she misunderstand Ashraf's intention to marry him? Nazanin dispels Ashraf's misconceptions, reiterating her love for Refugee and vowing to sacrifice her life if she fails to do so. Even when her father threatens to burn her to death with kerosene oil, she remains unwavering in her love for the Refugee. Seeing this scene, Ashraf realizes Nazanin's true love and releases her, allowing her to go to Refugee. Nazanin, while going to meet refugees, she comes across Tausif. Tausif tells her that after she left with Ashraf, soldiers at Ashraf's command broke both legs of refugee and sent him to India loading on a camel. Hearing this from Tausif, Nazanin, filled with utter hatred for Ashraf, returns to Ashraf's side and begins abusing him, accusing him of breaking refugee's leg. Hearing this, Ashraf, accompanied by Nazrin, approaches Tausif and severely beats him for causing refugee's condition. After his leg heals, refugee returns to Pakistan via the Great Run of Kutch and at Makkar's behest helps some people enter into India illegally, thinking that Najnin may have married Ashraf. He brings these illegal immigrants to India without even meeting Najnin. Makkar arranges for these men to stay at John Muhammad's house. Although John Muhammad doubts their authenticity, Makkar takes responsibility for them. Suspecting them, John Muhammad meets with refugee. Refugee also tells him that they are not good people and suggests fighting them on the way. Hearing this, John Muhammad approaches them, who are actually a terrorist group, and questions about fighting his son en route. Thereupon, Atta Muhammad, head of the terrorist group, played by Avatar Gill, says that he knew the route and that is why he saved his life. Otherwise, he would have killed him on the way. Upon hearing John Muhammad's word, refugee arrives there to fight them. Then Atta Muhammad and his terrorist companion are determined to shoot refugee. Makkar and John Muhammad intervene and convince them not to shoot refugee. Later, when Atta Muhammad offers John Muhammad a large sum of money in exchange for his stay there, John Muhammad refuses to accept the money. However, his son takes the money. In return, the terrorist leader Atta Muhammad gives him a suitcase and asks him to put it on a train, promising to pay him even more money. After son of John Muhammad leaves, John Muhammad asks Ada Muhammad that he is the village headman. BSF officers periodically visits the village to check on the villagers and count the total number of villagers. Hearing this, the terrorist leader Ata Muhammad spots a man of his age and lures him over with money. As soon as John Muhammad approaches the person approaches to take the money, Ata Muhammad shoots him and tells John Muhammad that now the count is complete and the BSF will no longer suspect him. After this, the entire family and the villager are forced to live under the shadow of terror. Meanwhile, when John Muhammad's son places the briefcase given to him by Ata Muhammad on a train, a massive explosion occurs, killing many people. Ata Muhammad is overjoyed to hear this news from the media. John Muhammad's son, also delighted by the explosion, returns to his father with a large sum of money. John Muhammad and his wife are furious with their son for involving in this incident unknowingly. Following the train explosion, the BSF officer becomes active and locates and approaches refugee. When BSF officer Raghuveer Singh questions refugee about bringing someone from Pakistan to India secretly, he tells them about a gang but admits he was unaware the group was linked with a terrorist organization. BSF officer Raghuveer Singh then restores refugee to the BSF and trains him to use a pistol. Meanwhile, Ata Muhammad summons John Muhammad's brother Chand Muhammad from Pakistan, and together they first horrified villagers, burning and killing a few villagers, and thereafter incite the villagers to join Pakistan. When John Muhammad opposes this, they all brutally beats him up. After training the refugee, BSF officer Raghuveer Singh one day arrives at John Muhammad's village with a large contingent of BSF personnel. He gathers all the villagers together and begins questioning them one by one. Approaching Ata Muhammad, he begins to think for a while and then arrest him, claiming that the refugee had told him everything about him. Seeing Ata Muhammad being arrested, Makkar runs away. Raghuveer Singh then chases him. Makkar manages to escape, but then refugee, now disguised as a BSF soldier, catches him and hands him over to the BSF. Afterwards, all the villagers apologizes, saying they were misled by Makkad and Atta Muhammad, terrorist organization's leader. Seeing this, Raghuveer Singh releases them all and leaves with only Atta Muhammad and Makkad. Following this incident, a meeting is held between BSF and Pakistan Ranger officers. Initially, both officers accuse each other of sending terrorists, but later both agrees that these terrorist organizations are in fact enemies of humanity. Therefore, military officers from both countries should work to combat these terrorist organizations without any bias. There, Pakistan Rangers officer Ashraf learns of the refugees' recent enlistment in BSF and secretly plans to marry Nazneen to the BSF soldier refugee. Following this plan, he accompanies Nazneen to the shrine of Pir Baba, fulfilling his earlier promises that he would take Nazneen to the shrine to pray for her wishes. Nazneen prays to Pir Baba for her marriage to refugee. Ashraf summons a Kaji. Nazneen is initially stunned to see the Kaji, but then, upon seeing refugee, now a BSF soldier, as groom, her face lights up with joy. Refugee and Nazneen then marry, and Nazneen begins traveling to India with refugee. Nazneen goes into labor and gives birth to a child right on the international border between Pakistan and India. Seeing this, BSF officer Raghuveer Singh and Pakistan Ranger officer Ashraf remarked that since this child was born on the international border, he is beyond any border dispute and is messenger of international peace. The story of the film Refugee ends with this scene.